Welcome to Panda Storyboard. Put on your headphones, get cozy, and settle in. Let's enjoy this story together. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like. Now, let's begin. After our family got caught up in the political purge, I followed my parents to the harshest labor camp you could imagine. The back-breaking work there destroyed my health and left me with injuries that would never fully heal. After Dad was rehabilitated and got his high-ranking position back, my sister became the one our parents felt the most guilt about. "Elena, it was my fault for being powerless during the purge," Dad said. "Cutting ties with you was the only way I could protect you. Can you ever forgive me?" Mom chimed in too. "It wasn't easy for me to say those cruel things before I left. We were forced by the circumstances. Can you understand that?" During my 15 years in the countryside, I'd transformed from the privileged daughter of a military commander into a weather-beaten farm woman. Even my fiancé, who had promised to wait for me, had moved on. "Clara, I'll wait for you to return, and then we'll get married," he'd said before I left. But when I came back, he changed his tune. "Clara, let's call off the engagement. I'm a university graduate, and you didn't even finish high school. We're not suited for each other." Then he turned around and asked my parents for my sister's hand in marriage. She was also a university graduate, and everyone gave them their blessing. At their wedding, I was seated in the farthest corner, listening to a whole day's worth of gossip and whispers. Then, my sister came up to me. "Little sis, I actually got the letter you sent, asking for help when Dad was injured all those years ago. And later, I was the one who deliberately got close to Zeke to make him fall for me." I caused a huge scene at my sister's wedding, telling our parents the truth. But no one believed me. Dad ordered the security guards to tie me up and lock me in the storage room. "Clara, you're being completely unreasonable," he said. "Why would you cause trouble at your sister and Zeke's wedding? I'm so disappointed in you. A young woman should have some self-respect. Don't you understand? If Zeke doesn't like you, you have to call off the engagement. Your sister and he are in love, so you need to give them your blessing." My sister and my ex-fiancé got their happy ending. Meanwhile, I was left forgotten in a dark, cramped storage room as punishment. They deliberately left me unattended for 7 whole days. My health was already ruined from the labor camp. How could I possibly survive 7 days locked up with nothing but a cup of foul-smelling water and a single stale bun each day? On the afternoon of the 7th day, when the guard was ordered to release me, he found only my lifeless body. My lips were blue and purple. I'd coughed up blood until the very end. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before my father got sent down to the countryside. Once again, I saw my father in his crisp military uniform, looking sharp and serious, like he always did. At home was my gentle, graceful mother. "What are you daydreaming about? Your mother's already got dinner on the table," Dad said. "Come and eat." "Clara, you're looking a bit pale. Are you feeling unwell?" Mom asked. It took me a while to pull my thoughts away from the pain of coughing up blood and the suffocating feeling of my lungs struggling for air. I pressed my lips together and shook my head, avoiding my parents' gaze as much as possible. I was afraid I couldn't hide the deep-seated, bone-chilling resentment in my eyes. I was clearly the one who stood by them through the hardest times, so why were they treating me like this? If I hadn't shouldered the grueling farm work for them, how could the two of them, already advanced in years, have held on until they were rehabilitated? And what was the result? I, who had given them everything, became the stain they were desperate to erase once their names were cleared. "Why are you just eating rice and not touching the dishes? Is the food not to your taste today?" My mother thoughtfully picked up some meat and vegetables for me. "You can't be this picky with your food. You're only 15 and still growing. You need to eat more." I murmured a quiet reply, but I didn't look up at her. I also didn't touch the food she'd given me. Crack! In the quiet room, the sound of chopsticks slamming against the table was especially sharp. My back instantly stiffened, and I froze completely still. But my father showed no mercy. Instead, he raised his voice in a stern rebuke. "Others go hungry even when they want to eat. Yet here you are with a roof over your head and food on the table, still picking and choosing. Where on earth did you learn such a bad habit? Eat. You're not going to bed tonight until you finish that plate." My eyes welled up involuntarily. Tears like water from a burst dam spilled over and dripped into my bowl of white rice. Although Mom doted on me, she never interfered with Dad's discipline. Seeing my pitiful state, she just shot him a look from an angle I couldn't see. "Take your time, don't choke," she urged gently. I grunted in acknowledgement. With tears in my eyes, I quickly finished the bowl of rice that tasted both salty and bitter. I steeled myself and shoveled the last bite into my mouth, swallowing it down without even chewing. I put down my bowl and chopsticks, then sat up straight, as rigid as one of the soldiers Dad commanded. "I'm finished. May I go back to my room to read?" With a stern expression, Father swallowed the food in his mouth before replying, "All right, go ahead." I got up and left immediately, without a moment's hesitation. From behind me, the faint sound of Mother complaining about Father drifted over. "Honestly, if the child doesn't want to eat, then don't force them. Why are you making such a big deal out of it with a kid?" Then came Father's stern voice. "We are a military family, and she is a soldier's child. How can she set an example by wasting the fruits of the people's labor?" "Oh, come on. She's still just a child. Don't be so harsh," Mom said. His words were lost to me as I hurried away. I slumped against my bedroom door, gasping for air. The overwhelming relief of being alive again was quickly followed by uncontrollable retching as the contents of my stomach threatened to come up. I quickly clamped my still soft hand over my mouth. Years of going hungry and cold had ingrained in me a deep appreciation for every single grain of food. Besides, this was a psychological issue, not a physical one. If I could just push through it, I'd be fine. If I actually threw up, it would all go to waste. My hand fell limply from my mouth. With a pale face, I let out a long, weary sigh and stared blankly at the ceiling. To this day, I still can't comprehend why my past self met such a wretched end. Silent tears fell from the corners of my eyes as I slowly slid down the door and sat on the cold, hard, concrete floor. With my head buried in my knees, I began to sob with muffled, broken cries. It was a long while before the weeping finally subsided. I wiped the tears from my eyes and, leaning on my aching, numb thighs, slowly pushed myself up from the ground. Limping over to the desk, I picked up the calendar with trembling hands. Ever since I was a child, I've had a habit of crossing off each day on the calendar as it passed. This habit now comes in handy for someone like me, who can no longer keep track of the years and months. July 26, 1970. Good. I have a week before my parents get sent down, and 4 days before they even get the news. That's plenty of time to get ready. As for studying, with my parents about to be sent down, it won't solve the crisis. Even if I learned something, I won't get a chance to use it. There's no need to rush. I pulled out a ballpoint pen and, on a fresh blank page of my notebook, began to make a list. I wrote down everything I could remember that my sister had done, every single despicable thing, word for word. It took me until late into the night just to finish the rough draft. The next day, I told my parents I was going out to buy notebooks and pens. Instead, I went to the post office and picked up a package of brown paper envelopes. After buying my school supplies, I headed to the library and spent the entire day copying out a clean version of everything I'd written the night before. I wrote 2 copies and sealed them in separate envelopes. Then, I mailed them to the organization that had been investigating my father. I couldn't let my sister be the only one to enjoy the glory, while I got stuck with the suffering. In this lifetime, if I had to go to the countryside, I'd make sure she came with me, no matter what. The next day, my sister got called in for questioning. All those letters she'd been secretly writing, along with the contents I turned in, were laid out in front of her. The investigators asked her to explain everything clearly. She broke down immediately. Through her tears, she begged to see our parents. "I want to see my dad and Mom. Please." When she got home, she cried the whole way upstairs. Once inside, she threw herself into Mom's arms. "Mom, I was so scared. Those people were so fierce. They kept interrogating me over and over. I don't know who could have framed me like this." Mom quickly patted her back to comfort her. "Don't be scared, Elena. It's okay. You're home now." Then, Dad asked, "What did they ask you about?" His tone was much gentler with her than it ever was with me. They said I was writing letters to undermine you, Dad," my sister sobbed. "But I never did. I don't even know who I'd send letters to. Someone must have framed me." I stood at the doorway, watching this scene unfold coldly. Dad glanced at me standing there, then back at my sister, who was crying in Mom's arms. He seemed to be weighing the two of us in his mind. "Clara, did you do this?" he asked me directly. I met his gaze without flinching. I did. She sent letters to your enemies trying to sabotage you. I only found out by accident, so I turned in the evidence. Dad, I did the right thing. You taught me that yourself. My words were like dropping a bomb in the room. My sister's crying stopped abruptly, and Mom looked at me in disbelief. Dad's face turned completely dark. Clara, do you realize what you've done? She's your sister. And you're my father, I replied calmly. So why should I protect someone who is trying to hurt you? Between protecting the person who tried to destroy you and protecting you, I chose you. Isn't that what I was supposed to do? My logic was airtight. Dad opened his mouth but couldn't find the words to refute me. He knew I was right, but he also knew that by turning in those letters, I'd just ruined my sister's life. The investigation continued. With the physical evidence right there, my sister couldn't talk her way out of it. Within 3 days, the verdict came down. She would be sent to the countryside, along with our parents. That evening, my sister burst into my room like a madwoman. Clara, you ruined everything. How could you do this to me? I'm your sister. She lunged at me, trying to scratch my face. I grabbed her wrists and held her back. And you're the one who sold out our dad. Did you think about him being your father when you did that? She struggled violently. I didn't do anything. You made it all up. There's physical evidence, I said coldly. Your own handwriting. Stop lying. I shoved her away from me. She fell to the floor, sobbing hysterically. Mom came running in and immediately helped her up. Clara, how could you push your sister? She attacked me first, I said flatly. I was defending myself. Dad appeared in the doorway. That's enough. Both of you, stop it. Elena, go back to your room. Clara, you two, get some rest. After they left, I locked my door. I knew what was coming next. In a few days, they'd all be sent down to the countryside. But unlike my past life, this time, I wouldn't be going with them. The day before they were set to leave, my parents called me into the living room. They sat together on the couch while I stood across from them. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken words. Clara, Dad finally spoke. We're leaving for the countryside tomorrow. You'll be staying here with your grandmother. I nodded. I understand. There's something else, he continued, his voice strained. To protect you from being implicated further, we've decided to cut ties with you, officially. My heart clenched, even though I'd known this was coming. In my past life, they'd said they did it to protect me. But I knew the truth now. They did it to protect my sister's reputation, to separate me from the informant label so she could still have a future. I understand, I repeated quietly. Mom's eyes were red. Clara, it wasn't easy for me to say these cruel words. We're forced by the circumstances. Can you understand that? I understand, I said for the third time. But inside I thought, you don't have to explain. I know exactly what you're doing, and why. Dad looked relieved that I wasn't making a scene. Good, you're a smart girl. I knew you'd understand. When we come back, we'll... When you come back, I interrupted. I hope you'll respect the boundaries you're setting today. Since we're cutting ties, let's make it clean. I turned and walked toward my room. I need to pack my things. I'll be moving to Grandma's tomorrow. Behind me, I heard Mom gasp. Clara, how can you say that? I paused, but didn't turn around. You're the ones cutting ties with me, remember? I'm just respecting your decision. Then I went into my room and closed the door. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, they'd all leave for the countryside. Dad, Mom, and my sister. I'd go to Grandma's house. And then I'd wait. The next morning, I helped them carry their luggage to the truck. My sister wouldn't even look at me. Mom kept crying, and Dad maintained his stern expression, though I could see the pain in his eyes. Take care of yourself, Dad said stiffly. It was the closest he could come to showing affection under the circumstances. You too, I replied. As the truck pulled away, I watched them go. Grandma put her hand on my shoulder. Come on, child. Let's go home. But I wasn't going to Grandma's not long-term anyway. I had other plans. A few weeks later, I signed up for the Educated Youth Program to go to the countryside voluntarily. But I made sure I was assigned to a different location, far away from where my parents and sister had been sent. When Grandma found out, she was devastated. Clara, why? You don't have to go. I want to, I told her simply. I need to. The truth was, I couldn't stay in the city. Every street corner reminded me of my past life, of the humiliation, the betrayal, the cruel death in that storage room. I needed to start fresh somewhere else, somewhere I could build a new life on my own terms. In the countryside, life was hard but honest. I worked in the fields during the day and studied at night. The village doctor, seeing my dedication, took me under his wing. "You've got a good head on your shoulders," he said. "Ever thought about becoming a doctor?" "I haven't," I admitted. "But I'm willing to learn." And so I did. I learned everything he could teach me: how to treat common illnesses, set broken bones, deliver babies, prepare herbal medicines. Within a year, I'd become indispensable to the village. Meanwhile, news from the city trickled in through letters from Grandma. My parents were struggling with the harsh farm work. My sister had broken down multiple times, unable to cope with the conditions. They were all asking about me, wanting to know how I was doing. I never wrote back. 3 years passed. I heard that Dad was rehabilitated and restored to his leadership position. I also heard that my ex-fiancé Zeke, who had promised to wait for me, had started courting my sister instead. "Clara, let's call off the engagement," he'd written to me. "I'm a university graduate and you didn't even finish high school. We're not suited for each other." Then he asked my parents for my sister's hand in marriage. When Grandma wrote to tell me about the engagement, she added, "Your parents want you to come back for the wedding. They say it's time to reconcile. What do you think?" I wrote back, "Tell them I'm happy for Elena and Zeke. I hope they have a wonderful life together, but I won't be attending the wedding. I have patients here who need me." The wedding happened without me. According to Grandma, it was a lavish affair. My sister looked beautiful in her white dress. Zeke looked handsome in his suit. My parents beamed with pride. Everyone said what a perfect couple they made. I was glad I wasn't there to see it. Years continued to pass. I completed my medical training at a workers', peasants, soldiers' university and returned to my village. Life was simple but fulfilling. I treated patients, taught younger doctors, and slowly built a reputation as a skilled physician. One day, the village chief came to see me. "Dr. Clara, I heard you completely cut ties with your family. What are your plans now?" I'd been thinking about this. More than 3 years had passed since I was sent down to the countryside, and the national college entrance exams were still about 4 years away from being reinstated. I'm not planning on going back to the city anyway. There's nothing and no one left there for me. Might as well stay here. As long as the village still needs me, I won't leave until I've trained a successor who's even better than I am. The village chief was quite pleased with this answer. Not long after, on the village's recommendation, I went to study in the medical department at a workers', peasants, soldiers' university. I was there for 3.5 years. After graduation, I kept my promise and returned to the village. That's when I ran into Gina, who had come to the countryside 6 months earlier. We were both delighted, and within a few words, the awkwardness from years apart simply melted away. She'd grown into her looks and become even prettier. Life in the countryside had tanned her skin and made her sturdy. I followed her back to the educated youth outpost. After putting our things down, we started preparing a meal while sharing stories about what we'd been through. My parents wanted to marry me off to a butcher to get a bride price for my brother's wedding, Gina explained. So I begged my aunt to get me a spot in the educated youth program. "You did the right thing," I told her. "Don't worry. As long as we're in the right, we can stand our ground anywhere. They won't get to take advantage of you again." After I returned, I urged Gina to pick up the knowledge she'd learned before. I even bought her high school study materials. Who knows? The national college entrance exam might be reinstated one day. It certainly won't hurt to start studying now. Gina didn't really understand why, but she was obedient. Since I told her to study, she dutifully did so. After studying for half a year, the national college entrance exam was indeed reinstated. Gina signed up for it, but didn't pass. But with my encouragement, she kept studying and prepared to try again. After failing the entrance exams twice, she finally got into university. Perhaps influenced by me, she chose the same medical program I'd studied, but she got in entirely on her own merit, and the university she attended was better than the one I'd gone to. The year I finally trained a successor who surpassed me was the same year Gina graduated. She turned down the opportunity to work at a major hospital and instead requested to be assigned to the county hospital nearest to me. I was quite content living in the village, so I didn't agree to Gina's proposal for me to take a job at the county hospital instead. I used my savings from over the years to secure a plot of land in the village, ready to officially settle down there. 1985, the year I died in my past life, and also the year my parents were rehabilitated and my sister was spoiled rotten. 2 uninvited guests arrived in the village. My sister, who had lived like a princess in her past life, all glamorous and pristine, and my former fiancé Zeke, who had once been the picture of refined elegance. As I got a clear look at the disheveled man and woman standing at the village entrance, their faces grimy, their skin darkened, looking even more unkempt than the local villagers, I was momentarily lost in a daze. My sister was visibly agitated the moment she saw me. "Clara, it shouldn't be like this. Why didn't you go with Mom and Dad when they were sent down to the countryside? If you had gone with them, I'd be the daughter of a military district commander now, the envy of everyone. Why did everything have to turn out so differently?" I was momentarily stunned and didn't pull away fast enough. My sister's clawing nails scratched anywhere that was exposed. My hands, neck, and face, leaving bleeding marks. It seems my sister has also awakened memories from her past life. "Elena, calm down." Zeke pulled her back. "Aren't we here to discuss your father's rehabilitation with Clara?" He turned to me apologetically. "Sorry, Clara. Elena is a bit worked up. The trauma she endured on the farm all those years has made her emotions difficult to manage." I learned about my sister's and Zeke's experiences over the years from Zeke himself. Back when I turned in those letters, my own sister, we shared the same parents, was inevitably investigated. Letters she hadn't yet managed to destroy were found at her place. After that, she went to the farm to be with our parents, and never got her college degree. When Zeke heard about it, he defied his family's objections, gave up his studies, left his home behind, and went to the farm without a second thought to be with her. For the first time in my life, I realized that Zeke had changed his heart so early on. Yet in their second year on the farm, Father still passed away from an infected wound. Unable to bear the immense void left by Father's death and the grueling farm work, Mother took her own life 3 months after he was gone. Upon learning of my parents' deaths, I didn't invite them into my little courtyard. I simply said, "What's the use of clearing their names now that they're gone? As you can see, I'm just a simple country doctor. I don't have the power to clear my father's name. He was a regimental commander. You've come to the wrong person." Zeke held his sister back from losing her temper, but the look he gave me was full of disappointment. "Clara, you've changed. You were never this selfish and cold before. That warm, kind-hearted, and sincere version of me died a long time ago in a past life. And you all had a hand in it. I don't owe anyone anything, not even my parents," I said firmly. "Don't think I don't know what you're after. All you want is the compensation for my parents' years of exile and the prestige of being the regimental commander's daughter. You want my help, but you won't even give me a straight answer. I'd have to have seawater for brains to be foolish enough to agree." I turned and walked away. That evening, the villagers brought my sister, left alone and seemingly deranged, to the gate of my small courtyard. I didn't let anyone inside. "Call the police," I told them. "She's married. Her husband abandoning her in this mentally unstable state is against the law." After being penalized, Zeke reluctantly took her back home. A year later, Zeke showed up at my door again. "Clara," he said quietly, "your sister is dead." I was only momentarily taken aback. I felt not a shred of sadness. Oh. The last time my sister visited, I could see that aside from her mental struggles, her physical health was also in serious decline. Barely past 30, which should be the prime of life, her face already bore the early signs of someone burning out. The same was true for Zeke, though his better constitution made it less apparent. But it was only a matter of a few years now. "That's the last family you have left in this world," Zeke said, as if that should mean something to me. I ignored him and started to walk away. "Clara," he called after me, "if I had kept my promise and waited for you back then, could we have been happy together? Clara, I heard you're not married yet. Is there still a chance for us?" I stopped in my tracks. "Zeke, you must always look forward, never back, because there's no going back." Without a single glance behind me, I turned and walked away.